Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes weekly webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, I'm excited to show you a new collection from our friends at Graphic 45 called Deck the Halls. We have pattern papers and we have coordinating paper ephemera pieces. So let's take a closer look, and we can start with our paper pack. Now here you'll have 24 sheets of 8x8 pattern papers. You have 2 each of 12 different designs, and you can see the patterns down below here and how they've been grouped into pairs. But of course you can mix and match. So take for example this beautiful floral. On the other side you've got the plaid, so you've got another sheet of that, and they mix and match so easily. Now with this sheet, you've got some elements. Well, you could use this as a background sheet, but you've also got some elements that you could cut apart and use to create borders. Really nice all over designs here. Here's some more of the cutout elements that you could use for the front or the inside of your card. Beautiful classic snowflakes. Now you've also got some solid sheets in here too, which makes it really nice and easy to mix and match and do your matting if you wish. Here's another great sheet of cutouts, easy to cut out with your paper trimmer. And then you've also got some beautiful all over designs. I love this sheet here with the sentiments, and just such an easy to use collection for your holiday cards. So coming to the end, one of my favorite patterns here with the little hearts. I think that's really sweet. So this is the paper pack. Again, you've got 24 sheets in here, 2 each of 12 different designs. Now to go along, you also have a collection of 65 paper ephemera pieces. And I'll flip the package over and you can see on the back the designs here. You have vintage toy soldiers, classic Christmas ornaments, holiday florals, you've got sentiments, and more. And I've pulled out a few just to put on this sheet so you can see the size and the variety. So some nice large focal elements here, accent pieces, and then of course some sentiments here. Really beautiful card focals or a nice accent for the inside of your card. Of course, everything is designed to coordinate perfectly, making it really easy to create beautiful and unique cards and paper crafts for the holiday season. I'm really glad you're here today, and I'm excited to explore the creative possibilities with you. So come play with us. Let's start with this festive card, which combines some pattern papers with this beautiful focal from the paper ephemera pack. So I've picked this gorgeous all over design for my main background. I absolutely love this sheet. You've got a nice classic red background here, but you've also got some hints of blue in the green of the foliage. You have lots of words and sentiments on here written in white, and then the snowflakes. Just a beautiful color combination, and so easy to pull out various colors from the background here to emphasize. Now I've combined this sheet with some of this plaid paper, and I think you can just see it around the outside edges there. This is the plaid. Now if you're combining these two together, although they are designed to coordinate with one another, if you combine them like this, I think you can see they're both quite strong patterns. In this case, it's really helpful to add in some visual space with the help of a solid cardstock mat. Now you can do just the white, or you could do as I've done here and also add in a second mat with that green solid cardstock. So I think you can see here that there's a really nice visual bridge between those two patterns, which helps to keep both of those patterns separate. So that's what I've done here. Created this main focal piece. I've got my plaid paper trimmed down slightly smaller than my 5 by 6.5 inch card base. And I've adhered all of those layers together. Before I glued it to my card front, I cut and wrapped a portion of this border sheet to go horizontally. So this paper here can be used as a background. You can also cut it apart to use it in pieces. So you can have narrow borders, thicker borders. You could have this be the entire top or bottom of your card front. So I've cut this to include 1, 2, 3, 4 of the borders on here, and then just wrap this around that panel and glued it all onto the front of my card. Now, my focal is the oval message from the ephemera set, which I've added with some foam tape to give a little bit of dimension. And then I tied a bow in some black and white ribbon from the gingham ribbons pack and just glued that underneath the focal. So this is what the gingham ribbons pack looks like. Yours will be fuller. I use this pack a lot. And you may notice some bows that I've already tied in there. And what I like to do when I'm experimenting with different colors that I'm pulling out from my background papers, I'll tie this in a bow and then kind of play with it and decide if I want that color combination or not. And if not, then I can just tuck it back inside my bag and it will be used for another project sometime in the future. So I've simply glued that down there, and I think creates a really nice focal element. Your spotlight is on the message here, but you've also got all of these beautiful other patterns in here too. Then for my card inside, I have some more of this same pattern paper matted onto a green solid and simply glued along the fold of the card. And then I have the 2 Nutcracker ephemera pieces going alongside. So this is a really simple layout inside and out. And I love it because it can be easily adapted and used with the other papers and ephemera pieces in today's collection. So I wanted to pull out a couple of other combinations or possible combinations that we can take a look at. So you've got with these blue colors in here, a really nice dot combination, and then also the snowflakes here. Now you've also got some of this blue solid, which means that you can really easily create a very nice combination there. And then this is one of the borders that I also had cut out. Now you may want to mat this onto a solid cardstock. You know, you could trim this down and have that going across the front. That's a really easy one. You could also combine some of my other favorites here, this really beautiful green design and then the gorgeous floral. And if you wanted to, simply slip in some of the white, and you could also add in fact, I would do it this way with the green and then the white. Let's get these edges even here. Positioning those together, and then maybe you also want to have another border going across here. Let's see if I can get some white in here as well as a mat. And kind of shift this a little bit so that you can see. That would be a really pretty combination as well, and I love those 2 pattern designs together. So there are a lot of different ways that you can mix and match the pattern papers in today's collection. And of course, having access to those perfectly coordinating solid papers makes everything a lot easier. And you're spoiled for choice in terms of the focal elements that you want to use to accent your card. And of course, any little bit of ribbon will do the trick and add a touch of softness. Now, you're not just limited to cards with today's collection, so let's have a look at a tag in a bag project. A tag in a bag is one of my favorite paper crafts, especially for Christmas. With the help of a die, you can make a sweet and festive design that can hold a Christmas greeting with the tag shape. It can also hold small items like gift cards, money gifts, or other small and flat gifts. So it makes a really nice presentation. So let me show you the die that I'm working with. This is one of my most used dies in my collection. So with the tag in a bag, you're getting, of course, the tag shape, which is pretty self-explanatory. This is a great shape to have if you do any kind of tag art, mini books, that kind of thing. This can be used on its own, of course. But then you're also getting the bag, which is fantastic. And this is what makes the whole project, of course. So 2 pieces. You'll run them through your die cutting machine as usual, and then you are ready to go. So as I've mentioned, the tag itself is quite self-explanatory. The bag will come out looking like this. So you have a really nice kind of decorative edge along the top. You'll also get those score lines there. So all you need to do is just flip it over and follow those score lines to fold up the sides and the bottom. Now, I do recommend when you're folding this, especially if you're using a sturdier cardstock, grab your bone folder and really give those lines a nice crease, and that will help it to fold together more easily. I also recommend using the extra sticky tape for that. It'll hold everything together much more securely. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you'll notice here on my demo piece, this is the light pink. On the reverse side is the darker pink. So whatever paper you're using, do keep in mind, especially if it's patterned with words, for example, that you have what you want showing on this inside portion here. So for my bag, for example, I'm using this beautiful red and kind of off-white design, and then the reverse side of that is the solid red cardstock. So that works really nicely. And I'll flip this over so you can see the back on there too. So this was a really easy design to use for that bag. Now I've folded up my bag, glued it together, and then I inked around the outside edges using the Velvet Fawn ink. And that just gives a little bit of nice shading going around those outside edges there. And then I've wrapped this with another piece of that very versatile border paper. So you can see I've got quite a chunk of it going around here, and that's also inked lightly, top and bottom, and then you can see where it's wrapped around to the back and also secured with some of that extra sticky tape. Then I have the star garland ephemera piece glued just underneath here, and the nutcracker ephemera piece is foam taped on top. Now the tag is cut from the coordinating Merry Christmas patterned paper. On the reverse side of that is this, it's not a bright white, but it's kind of a bone colored, I guess, off-white. And that just coordinates beautifully with this sort of vintage effect of our bag patterned paper. And I have the cutout here as my focal, and this is from one of the sheets in the paper pack. I've kept it all pretty simple. I've done a little bit of inking around the outside edges, but this fills up the whole tag, so I'm pretty much good to go. And I've threaded through a little bit of blue jute twine through this tag hole. And the jute twine is another one of my favorite embellishments to use. The pack looks like this, and you've got a variety of colors in there. I really like that navy blue because I think it coordinates beautifully with some of the blues in the other parts of our design. So I've threaded that through, tied it into a bow up at the top, and then I've added this ephemera bouquet on top with some foam tape. You have a lot of these pretty vintage postcards in the paper collection, which work beautifully as part of a card focal. So in this case, I'm adding in some dies from the Christmas Past die set from Paper Wishes, layering with the solid designs from the paper pack, and also working in a little bit of gold glitter cardstock here too. And these are layered up on top of one of the postcard images, which is also combined with some pattern paper. So let's take a look at the rest of our card. I've covered my card front with the snowflake design, and I've inked the edges with the Velvet Fawn ink pad pretty heavily. So I've got a lot of nice shading around the outside edge there. Then I've matted a smaller portion of the green pattern paper, and I've added in some of this kind of bone colored white, off-white solid paper, and I've inked the edges of this quite heavily. So I've actually got a really nice sort of aged distressed look going around all of our patterned and solid papers on here. And the postcard focal is also inked pretty heavily and then glued in the center of the card, and then I've added these poinsettias. So let me show you the die set that I'm working with. This is one of my favorites. So it's the Christmas Past from Paper Wishes. And you can see all of the different designs that you're getting in here. So you've got poinsettias, you've got some holly, you've got some berries. I also really love this foliage die. It's nice and big. You can see it up here in the silhouette. This works beautifully all year round, but I like using it, of course, for Christmas designs too. So with those poinsettias, I've got 3 of them kind of layered up here. two which are double layered and one which is just a single. So let's have a look at this. Here is the base or the bottom, the larger portion. Here is the smaller piece, and then you also have centers. And you can see I've die cut this one from some gold glitter cardstock, and that's what I've done for these flowers, or I'm sorry, I know they're plants, not flowers, these poinsettias, and then I've also used the glitter cardstock for these pine bows here. Now the glitter cardstock is some really cool stuff. It comes on 8.5 by 11 sheets, and I love using it for just little hints of shine in here. Now with my double layered poinsettias, I've used some foam tape in between those layers and simply glued them down like so, and then pop the center right on top, and you can see how easily those come together. So I've got, again, the two double layered ones, and then this is just a single. They're all popped up onto foam tape, and then I've got the foliage going along here too. Now I've die cut two shapes. I've got the bone color, that's sort of off-white, and then the green. And I've offset them from one another so that you're able to get a little bit of a shadow effect, like so. And I've just glued those together with a glue stick and positioned them there. And then I've got a little bit of holly leaf down here at the bottom, and everything is just creating a really nice element that coordinates with the background images on that postcard focal. And then underneath I've got the Merry Christmas ephemera piece foam taped on there as well. Then for my card inside, I have a really simple collage with another leaf die cut. I've got the pine bows and then the ephemera sentiment on top. Our final project is a stadium box design, which can stand up to be displayed. It can also be placed flat to mail easily. Now this is made using a new to me die, and I'm really excited to show it to you. I love it for Christmas cards, and I think this would be a lot of fun for birthday cards and all occasion cards as well. And in fact, on the front of the package of the dies, you can see another example here. So you can also see on the front package the 4 shapes that are included in this die set. So you'll need to die cut one each per design. You'll have the card back, card front, and then you have the second crossbar and the third crossbar. So all of these elements are going to come together to create a design like this really pretty easily. So one thing I love, of course, about hot off the presses dies, on the back of the storage folder, you have another look at that same project. You also have your written instructions here, and quite crucially, you've got your folding diagram and your assembly diagram up here at the top. Now where you see the bits of red, this is where we've indicated that we think it's a good idea to use that extra sticky tape. This is really my recommendation, and I refer to it for our tag in a bag project as well. Any of those projects that are going to get handled, pulled, tugged, or twisted in any way, it's a really good idea to have that extra sticky tape as extra security on there. So we've indicated on there where you should be using that, and I'll walk you through the process here as well. So I've got my pieces all die cut. I've got my back, I've got the front, and then here are our 2 crossbar pieces, and I do have a dummy run sample piece to show you as well. So let's take a look at how to assemble this. Now, first of all, with your card back, you don't need to do anything else with it at the moment. I'm going to slide that out of the way. With your card front and then the 2 crossbar panels, this is where you're going to add your extra sticky tape. So these are the fronts of all of these panels. This is the side that I've chosen to use. And you can see here you've got your folding tabs. So what you'll do is crease those. Again, I do recommend using your bone folder to give those extra nice crisp creases. And then you'll put your extra sticky tape on those panels on the front. So here you can see I've got them on the front of the pink piece and on this blue piece. Now with our card front, I'm going to flip this over so you can see I've got my extra sticky tape on the back. So it's on the back of my card front, if that makes sense. And then what I'll do, scoot these aside, bring back in my card back, and I'm going to remove the liners from the extra sticky tape, crease this, and then glue this to the back like so. And I think you can see where this is going. I do have a piece that is already glued together, a little bit easier for me to hold. And so you can see what this is going to look like. Now, on the back, you'll have those tabs showing. If you really don't like that, what you can also do is cut another piece of the back and just simply glue it on top. So you can avoid those showing if you want. Then what you'll do is take the largest of your two crossbar pieces, remove the liner, and you're going to fold that up, and you're going to glue this right inside in kind of a stair-step fashion. So do be careful when you remove the liners here so that you don't get things stuck where you don't want them to be stuck. So just a little bit of caution and gluing that right inside like so. And then you will repeat with the smallest of those, and you will have everything going like so. Now the important thing you want to make sure is that all of those pieces are flush with the bottom here. But once you have all of those pieces cut, you are ready to decorate. And again, you can see how this will fold to either side so that it can go through the mail. Now I've die cut these from solid cardstock, but you can also do it, of course, from patterned paper as well. So let's have a look here at the finished design. I've got some more of that border paper here in the front. I have some more of the ephemera and the cutouts here too. Really easy to add little touches to each one of those kind of stair-step levels. I've got a sentiment up here and then this really pretty Christmas tree ornament. I also have a little bit of 1/8 inch ribbon. So this is another one of my favorites. Again, your pack will be much bigger than mine because I go through this like crazy. And I've just simply tied a bow and glued that right at the top of that ornament. And this again will add a little bit of softness and dimension, but not a ton of bulk, which is nice if I am mailing something. And so this is our final project of the day today. A big thank you to our friends at Graphic 45 for this collection. It has been a lot of fun to work with. And a special thanks to you for joining me today. We're really glad you're here and we're happy you're a part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.